Hey YouTube, Meef here. Welcome to episode 13 of our Feed the Beast Continuum, kind of quick tips and tricks. Uh, so this episode, what I wanted to kind of go through was some of the passive power that you can pick up here. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at these quests. Once we've completed this whole new game kind of thread, or most of it, so we moved into this factorial portion of this. I skipped some of this other stuff to get this passive power finished up. What we did here, went through and picked up this Kinetic Dynamo and a Waterwheel, which really they aren't all that expensive. But there is some significant... Oh shit, it's not what I want. There is some significant time that goes into this. So let's take a look at this Kinetic Dynamo. Ouch. And here he is right here. So this isn't all that expensive. Just kind of keep in mind that you're going to need some Invar, these Diamantine electron tubes, and then these empowered Diamantine crystals. A little bit of Electrum, and this high voltage coil block. These aren't too bad. This HV wire coil is going to be steel wire and aluminum wire. So keep that in mind. If you don't have that stuff set up for wires, I think you can get that through the engineer's workbench. We've actually created the blueprint here. And here it is. It's the metal press mold for wire. It's just 5 steel plates. And then a wire cutters to get that mold. So keep that in mind. I think we'll need all of these at some point. Maybe not. Some of this shit, I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out later. Bullet casings, I think you can get that revolver started if you wanted to do that. Yeah, that doesn't look all that complicated to make. But anyway, the blueprint's there for wires, so go ahead and pick that up if you haven't already. You should have the gear stuff, so just kind of keep that in mind. You can make all of those. Let's take a look at how this dynamo is set up, though. And I've actually already gone through and done this. I'll kind of talk a little bit about how this works. So kind of keep in mind the orientation of this dynamo. You can't see it, but on the other side, can't really get a good shot of it, and I really don't want to tear this apart. But just know that the sides have, you can kind of see the coils, and then the back is blank. But on the other side, there's a hole, and that's how this water wheel is accepted. Now, this is not the most efficient setup. It's partial. I kind of put mine together just for a visual aesthetic, I guess. So I built this thing, this wheel, in this power generation house or whatever, just for shits because I thought it was funny. So this isn't the most efficient way. Really, what you'd want to do is put this water wheel, elevate it out of the water, and set these water blocks up. But let's go take a look up top. Go ahead and make 3 of these. Just save yourself the time. Get 3 of these water wheels, put them together, and then put them in the end of the dynamo. Just because you can fit 3 of them together, so just save yourself the time. The water wheel stuff isn't all that expensive. If we could take a look at that now. Just a piece of steel and then 4 of these water wheel segments, but really it's just treated wood. So put 3 of those together, do yourself a favor, and just do it right now. I think this is outputting somewhere about, I think it's like 80 RF per tick. Probably slightly less. Actually, I know it's slightly less. It seems like it's generating enough power. For what we're doing right now, and it works pretty damn well. So let's open this up, and I think I can open this up. Okay, let's crack this open too. Okay. So this is kind of what this looks like. Now, directly underneath this, there should be another water block, but you put 3 full water blocks underneath here. It should be forward, actually, right here. And it's kind of difficult to see, but you can find the diagrams out on if you just search it in Google Images, you can get the full, most efficient way to do this. But this water block, 3 of them set across here, actually works pretty damn good. The other full sets of water blocks are actually here, so this is, it's offset, but it's directly above. And what it does, and I could take this off here to show it, it just runs over the top of this water wheel. So those are full source blocks, and then down those should be not this level, but just below should be full source blocks, and that should get this thing moving pretty good. The setup, you're gonna have to monkey around with this a little bit, but it works pretty well for generating power. So definitely check that out on Google Images. If this doesn't look like it was that easy to figure out, and I know it's kind of difficult to see. Let's close this back up. Like I said, I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but if you just do a quick Google search for efficient water wheel in immersive engineering, you'll come up with the graphics for it, and it can show it much better in a single picture. But just remember where those source blocks are, and kind of keep in mind that this water wheel is kind of a crutch. I mean, you're not going to be generating shit tons of power with this, because that's not what it's meant for. It's just kind of a passive thing, but it does work pretty well for what we're doing. Just, you can monkey around with it, just play with it. It does pretty well. So the next part of this water wheel setup is actually this Powercell, and these are a little bit expensive. So let's take a look at this, because I think this is a different set of mods. Okay, so this is part of RF tools. So this block can store power. It's 250,000 RF and can be combined with other cells to form a multi-block, and I think it's 9 by 9. So these can get relatively large. Now this is just the low version. As you can see here, there's 2 sets. And this looks like 10 million RF, and this is 100 million RF, which is a lot. But each of these has different output, and I'm not sure what these higher power cells are. I assume this is 1,000 and then like probably 2,500 RF output, but I could be wrong. I haven't built them yet, but once we do, we'll go over that stuff. So let's kind of take a look here. If you haven't built yourself a crescent hammer yet, do it, because you're going to need it anyway. So here's our power cell right now. So this has been generating, and you can see the green, the input output there is 100 RF per tick. So that's why they consider this low. Now you can change the input output on here by right clicking these with a wrench. So now it's set for input. So blue is in and yellow's out. And that's kind of how this works. So you can set these input up right now. So the way this is set down here, I've got 2 LV wire connectors. So one is hanging off the top of the dynamo down there, because that's how those hook up. And it's hooked to this wire connector. So this is done with copper, or it's LV wire coil, but it's really just a couple pieces of copper run through the metal press to make some wire. And a stick. Let's take a look at this. You can get really crazy with this wire and stuff out here, but this is what they are. So copper wire around a stick, and you get 4 of these. So let's go over this real quick. Now there's a couple types of connectors here, and you're going to see that wire connectors, these, as far as I have seen, and they changed this from the early versions of this, these wire connectors accept one connection. So if we connect a piece of wire between these 2 guys, so these are both wire connectors, and this is just right click with the copper, you can only attach 1 wire to these guys. So really these hang off the end of the machine or your power source. Now the way this works with these guys, let me knock this off here. Let's put you back down. So our low voltage wire relay here, if we were to click this off, See, that time I right-clicked it, you can actually, you see it linking from 1394.73 minus 267. And I can hook it to the other one. So the whole point of these relays is they accept multiple connections, and I think they accept like 8. I'll have to test that later, and I'll get back to you on that one, but it shouldn't be a problem. As you can see here, this ugly ass, I do not like the immersive engineering wiring. Not that it's a bad setup, it's good. It's just not aesthetically pleasing, I guess. But this is kind of what I've got going. So down there, you can see I'm powering my metal press with that. That's coming off here. So right now I've got a 250,000 RF sitting in there. And that's going to that machine. So the power acceptor is on the top on that one. This is just strung down there with a low voltage wire. But as you can see here, this stuff is actually headed over to, that's going to be my mechanical building. And that's kind of what's going on. So these poles here accept those things. Just be careful. They sit high. You might have to torch the top of them. But as you can see, this dirty ass setup that I'm not happy with actually goes over to this mechanical building. And let's run up here quick. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of relays over here. And the way I've got these relays set up, it's coming over here. This isn't finished, but this is going down into here. And as you can see, it goes all the way down there and is hooked into that item repair. That was kind of my test thing. Now, you can't hook wires in here if they're obstructed. The game knows that that's not going to work, so it won't let you do it. And we can demo this. It just won't let you do it. So let's tear these off quick. Okay, we're going to leave our relay there. And just for shits, I'm going to go ahead and put this guy, I think this is far enough. That guy there, and we're going to put this dude here, but we're going to obstruct this. So now let's go ahead and try and connect this. Won't do it. Cool thing about this is it does show you what is obstructing it. So you can tear this out. Hook this back in. No problem. Okay. Let's see if we can get this to error out. Okay, so if you're looking at the linking, the kind of tan brown lettering just above the hotbar down there, you can see I linked this to this relay. But as soon as I get out here, see how I turn red? It won't actually let me connect this here. Well, actually, this will. This just isn't quite far enough. Maybe we can put it over here. Okay, this is red now. And it says you are too far away from the previous connection. What in the hell is going on down here? Look at these assholes. Pricks. So, there is a distance here, and I think it's 15. Play with it. Just keep in mind that if you're going to run these out distances, you have to have wire relays. And they're pretty easy to make. It's just terracotta and a couple copper. Run those out, make a bunch of them. You're going to need them anyway, depending on what your setup looks like. I like big spanning, sprawled out buildings. It's just easier to work that way. That's just my building style. So kind of keep that in mind. So we went over the Powercell. We can actually increase this later. I think next episode I'm probably going to do that. There are some other things that I'm going to have to get put together before I go ahead and do that, though. Because if we're looking at this, there's a whole bunch of machines that have to be made. And then kind of get to some of that stuff. So keep making steel if you haven't been already, because you're going to need it. Keep in mind what I did here. Since these are active, I went ahead and skipped this. Now, in order to get that power cell, there's actually another part to this. It's this smart wrench. And it's kind of like the same as the crescent hammer, but the crescent hammer is cheap as shit. Let's see what this smart hammer is, or smart wrench is, because I haven't built it yet. And this is actually really cheap too. I always go with the crescent hammer just because that's what I've always used from it should be thermal expansion. And it's always worked well for me. and it's worked on pretty much every machine. So I'm pretty sure it's probably the same. Just keep in mind that smart wrench is out there, and that if you're following along with these quests, which you probably should, because it kind of hooks you up with some cool stuff, that you can finish this out. So I did skip this here because it was available and I needed it, but I'm gonna have to do this anyway. I think I'm not really a fan of these drills. I guess we'll see. But anyway, you need an energizer to power this bastard up anyway, which is this stupid ass thing. Let's take a look here. Energizer. It's gonna be this guy. So not a big deal, steel plates, but you're looking at another Kinetic Dynamo. So I guess if you're going through, go ahead and build this anyway if you're going to use this, just because, and then hook it into the rest of your system. So, like I said, the wires, I'm not really a huge fan of these things, just because, you know, they're strung up all over the place. I much prefer thermal expansions, flux duct, just because it leaves things a little bit cleaner. Plus, you know, you don't have to put holes in the tops of your buildings that you can fall through. Or you've got, you know, if you happen to have a bad spawn up there, you know, enemies are able to fall into your fucking base, which has happened to me. So yeah, flux duct won't allow that because it does take up the space. It won't allow people or mobs inside. Yeah, so that's just kind of my personal preference there, which I'll be replacing. And why in the hell is there a hot dog in here? Give me that back. Get the hell, get out of there, you son of a bitch, fucker. So, one way I did test this, I should mention this quick. So this is strung up a little bit strange here, but this was my test. So if you hook another LV wire connector across on these relays, this item repair seems to be a good way to test this early on. So that's just kind of what I did there. So that's your basic passive power and storage. Again, you can increase that multi-block. I'm going to do that later, so I'll increase that. But I think what I'm going to try and do is get some of these machines set up. This crusher. This is the first machine that is available in order to start processing ore. So this is going to be my priority right now. I don't know if I have the material to do that. Just a heads up that you should be keep making that steel. I can't really emphasize it enough. I got a little bit lazy. But I've got some ore processing I got to take care of here. Once I got enough, I'm going to start running that shit through the crusher. But that's where I'm going next. So keep that in mind. Keep making that stuff. Get your power generation stuff set up. Get that water wheel going. I think some windmills are there. Those are almost easier to make, I think, in my mind, rather than the water wheel setup. But use it. Use it for passive generation. It's not going to be there forever. You can kind of just use it as a supplement. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch up with you in the next one. Till next time.